Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So let me tell you how great Devin Haney is already. Devin Haney is such a dominant fighter in the lightweight division that even George Kambosos' own Australian reporters believes that George Kambosos has almost no chance of winning this fight. And we know that to be the case because the reporter was asking Devin Haney about fighting Gervonta Tank Davis or Vasyl Lomachenko as if George Kambosos' fight was already a foregone conclusion.
Are you looking to get the chance, perhaps beyond this fight with George, at some stage getting in the ring with Davis and just killing that once and for all?
How could you even think to bring up Gervonta Davis when George Kambosos is sitting right there, right in front of me? It's no way that I could, be looking past him. He's right there in front of me. That's the man I got to go through. And then we'll once I go through him, then we'll talk about what's next. But my main focus is him.
What might be next is Vasyl Lomachenko. Bob Arum, the promoter, has been talking about that. I mean, that's a big. You can't blow that off. That's out there on the horizon, and that would be a momentous occasion in the world of boxing, given, of course, what's happened in the Ukraine and Lomachenko standing. And
George Kambosos.
Simple as that.
George Kambosos.
Just laser focused.
That's it.
What about you, George? I mean,
Devin Haney. Devin Haney. That's all that's been on my mind since, the champ beat me that night. That's all that's been on my mind. So, all these other fighters are great fighters, great champions, and, everyone's gonna fight eventually, but, like he's focused on me, I'm very focused on him.
Guys, this is what you have to understand. This is a face-off. This is a face-off. The whole purpose of them doing this segment is to promote the Devin Haney-George Kambosos fight. This is not Devin Haney doing an interview. This is not him hopping on a podcast or George Kambosos. This is a face-off designed for one reason, and that is to promote the fight that's coming on this weekend. There is obviously only one reason the reporter would be showing so much interest in a Devin Haney versus Gervonta Tank Davis fight, a Haney versus Lomachenko fight, is because once again, he feels the results of this fight are as predictable as the sun coming up every day. By the way, the Australian guy doing the interview, his name is Warren Smith. So as much as Warren Smith was actually praising Devin Haney, regardless if he even realized it or not, he also tried his best to discredit Devin Haney's win over George Kambosos. He started to blow the dog whistles to the rest of the races in America, and he said, well, in America, I hear a lot of people, they weren't happy with your performance because you didn't get a knockout, it wasn't that entertaining, etc., etc., etc. Now, Devin Haney, who completely shut out Kambosos in a fight that wasn't competitive at all, he responded by saying, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. But what Devin really should have said, he should have asked Warren Smith rhetorical questions. He should have said, Warren, be honest with me. If George Kambosos would have dominated me, won every single round with mainly nothing but one hand, basically with one hand tied behind his back, would you or anyone in Australia or anywhere else say the same thing about George Kambosos' performance that you just said about mine right now? Would anyone be trying to discount his performance? If Australia's Tim Tszyu, if he were to beat Jermell Charlo and become undisputed next year, using the exact same weapons I use to dominate and beat George Kambosos, would you ever say the same thing to Tim Tszyu that you just said to me regarding my win over George Kambosos for all of the belts? And that is what you call, once again, a rhetorical question. Because the answer is absolutely not, and we all know this. If George Kambosos would have dominated Devin Haney, the win would have been perceived damn near bigger than Tyson Fury beating Deontay Wilder. Because the main thing they would have said is George Kambosos just beat the guy that they were saying is the next Floyd Mayweather. Because at the end of the day, I always tell you guys, they don't care about entertainment, how exciting a fight is. They only care about the results, who wins and who loses. And that's everyone. Soccer is the biggest sport in the entire world, but it's also one of the most boring sports because sometimes you have to wait hours for a team to score a goal. And some games, neither one of the teams will score a goal. But that doesn't bother soccer fans at all. You know why? Because they know that if their team wins, that means their country wins. And if their country can win the entire World Cup, it means that their country is the best in the whole wide world. And that's all they care about. And that's all Warren Smith and the rest of the race fans would have cared about if their guy was the one to get the W. Here's another point I want to make. I want to ask you guys a question. Do any of you guys know who Paul Butler is? Well, if you didn't Google his name when I asked you the question, most of you guys didn't know who he was at all, right? Well, not only is Paul Butler a boxer, but he is a WBO champion that Haney is about to fight next for undisputed. Paul Butler, matter of fact, let me go ahead and pull up a little bit of his record so you guys can see some of his work. Paul Butler, he has 2 losses on his record. He was knocked out once. And as you guys can see in this image right here, he was fighting guys with serious losing records. Matter of fact, if you look closely, you'll see that he just recently fought a guy who had a record with 16 wins and 71 losses. That was Jose Aguilar. Before that fight, it was a guy with 7 wins and 10 losses. Then it was a guy with 14 wins and 8 losses. Then it was a guy with 23 wins and 12 losses. It goes on and so forth. The only time this guy Paul Butler actually fought an undefeated fighter, he completely lost by unanimous decision. So what does this have to do with Devin Haney versus Grorge Kambosos? I'm glad you asked. Now, we all know that when Devin Haney beat Grorge Kambosos, he had beat the man that beat the man that beat the man, right? Lomachenko loses to Teofimo. Teofimo loses to Grorge Kambosos. Kambosos loses to Devin Haney, making Devin Haney the first 4-belt era undisputed champion in the lightweight division and the first undisputed champion since Pernell Whitaker, the great Pernell Whitaker. Well, right after Devin Haney got this win, Joe Tessitore, ESPN's blow-by-blow announcer, he took no time to start discrediting Devin Haney's win over Grorge Kambosos. Immediately after the fight, Joe Tessitore is telling the rest of the panel that Grorge Kambosos was never that good in the first place. We all know the only reason he beat Teofimo because Teofimo was sick, etc., etc. Just to remind you, Joe Tessitore and the gang, these are the same guys that made excuses for why Lomachenko lost to Teofimo Lopez. But yet, Joe Tessitore was calling him undisputed. He was praising Grorge Kambosos leading up to the fight. And not one single time did Joe Tessitore ever imply that Grorge Kambosos is nowhere near on Devin Haney's level. Never did he say, you got to be a real gifted fighter to beat someone with the skills that Devin Haney possesses. He never praised Devin Haney at all. He never discredited Grorge Kambosos before the fight, saying that Grorge Kambosos is not really that good of a fighter. And that's why I don't think he has too much of a chance against Devin Haney. Worst case scenario, Joe Tessitore, he should have at least came out and said it's going to be a hell of an uphill battle for Grorge Kambosos because Devin Haney is a special fighter. But you know why he never said that, guys? Because he was always rooting for Grorge Kambosos. Because his brain was telling him that Grorge has no chance against this gifted athletic fighter like Devin Haney. But his heart was telling him, man, look at the way Grorge talks. Maybe he's really going to get the win for us. Maybe he's really going to pull off the upset. Because that's how fights are sold. This is the reason why Floyd Mayweather would always fight Mexican fighters on Mexican holidays. Because the closer we get to the fight, the more those Mexican fans, they start really believing their guy is going to win. And they're all sitting in the house crowded, rooting for their guy, really believing he's going to beat Floyd Mayweather. He's going to be the first person to beat Floyd Mayweather. As soon as Floyd Mayweather dominates him, they immediately start to throw their fighter under the bus just to try to take credit away from Floyd Mayweather's win. This is what Joe Tessitore was doing, and this is what all of the race fans, the majority, at least 95% of the non-black fans, maybe 98% of the non-black fans, this is exactly what they do when they see any black boxer beat someone who is not black. So once Devin Haney became undisputed, what did these race fans say? They said, oh man, but he became undisputed, beating the weakest champion, etc., etc. And this is where Paul Butler comes in. Because we all know that once Inoue beats Paul Butler, none of these same fans are going to say that undisputed means nothing because he beat a bum. He didn't beat anybody. He beat a weak champion. By way of contrast, who's beat better competition, George Kambosos or Paul Butler? Clearly, it's George Kambosos. This man beat Teofimo Lopez right after Teofimo Lopez beat Vasyl Lomachenko. Paul Butler has never beaten an undefeated opponent before. But these race fans, they don't care about any of that because they're basing everything they say off of race. Not entertainment, excitement, knockouts. They're basing everything they say off of race. And it burns them up that Devin Haney has become what they wanted other fighters that were not black to become, which is the true undisputed champion at lightweight. And it's about to even get worse because there's a very good chance after Devin Haney destroys George Kambosos a second time, he's going to most likely beat Vasyl Lomachenko, which will damn near leave these race fans and old media speechless. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one. Check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, fever blisters, diabetic ulcers, this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called Elo Diki Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to elodiki.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram. Let me tell you guys about Issa Israel Law Firm. It is a full-service legal practice based in Denver, Colorado, an emerging hub for combat sports and high-altitude training. If you're a fighter inside or outside of the ring and you need a law firm you can trust to fight for you, visit thefighterfirm.com or email help@iilawfirm.com. Legal representation is usually limited to plaintiffs or defendants in Colorado, but iFirm can help anyone in the world with trademarking their business name, logos, and U.S. immigration issues. This brother has been my attorney for a while and helped guide me through all kinds of business and civil issues, so make sure you guys go to thefighterfirm.com.